So this InStride Live is usually a question and answer. I have one question from Casey already that came in email. And Casey, you had a question about what you called quick phrases. And at first I said, oh, yeah, sure, I'm glad to talk about that. And then I thought, wait a minute. I'm not sure I know what you mean by quick phrases. So I'm glad that you're here. And if you would kind of give me an example or how do I'll know better what you mean. Because when I think of quick phrases, I think of ways to enter text into the note that is efficient and, type a little, get a lot kind of stuff. So go ahead and let me know what you were thinking and I will help out.
Okay, so I watched the last video, and you were talking about a doctor setting up different, quick phrases. So, you use your little thing down in the bottom right-hand corner where some of us will just click on it and it go into the note.
Let's open up a note here. I have this test patient that I scheduled for today. So go ahead and tell me where, in a chief complaint section or...
So click on physical examination.
Okay, we don't use the one that says physical examination. Okay. When you open it, you get that box that says refer to examination. So that one is this RE, regular examination, which is the button right above it, just in case you've been having trouble with that.
Okay, so if you were just to click on vascular exam, and then I know the arrow that points to the right would be all of your default information.
Right.
But then if you click the rectangle box, it shows you, I guess, all of your negative things, I guess.
Well, these are just things that I added if I wanted to. Let's say I would type, trace DP and PT pulses, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna add that. I'm going to add that, 2/7, and I'm going to add that. So that's what those are there for, just to give you phrases that you may like, or you use repeatedly that you would want to add into your note if you're, not going to use the default. This section, I added these. You may say, I never say any of those things, and maybe you want to add some of your others, some of your own. You can do that.
Okay. And these should be as simplex as possible, because I've seen some on the last video where you had brought up another doctor and they were just full of paragraphs. But it seems like that would be more difficult than than doing the simple, toes are cool, toes are cold, instead of full paragraphs. Is that right?
I think there's a place for both. So this would be my default, normal, right? And you're right, that's the same one that is by the arrow here, right? That's my default normal. But let's say you have one that is, I don't want to say all these things because I'm not sure that's all true. I don't remember exactly about all of that. But I know that this patient came in. We were rechecking their wart. So I didn't spend a lot of time checking for, digital hair on all their toes and stuff like that. But I know, I always just check their pulses and their toes seemed warm, and I just went on and I didn't think anything of it. You could have another phrase that maybe it's just, pedal pulses, palpable, toes are warm and pink, right? Because, this healthy 42-year-old, was in a week ago, and I did all this and it was fine. I didn't really check. Anybody that audits is going to say, listen, do you really do all that every freaking time you saw them? No, I didn't. I just did this. So I think you could have some long paragraphs. I think you could have some shorter paragraphs for various things. Right? Let's say this is, this patient has been coming in and they have PVD, and you're not treating them for their PVD, you're treating them for, whatever, but you just have a small PVD sentence that says DP and PT pulses are non-palpable, capillary refill time is delayed at 2 to 3 seconds to all digits, and toes are cool. I got dozens of patients where that would work for their vascular exam for whatever I'm treating them for today. So I think there's room for long paragraphs, shorter paragraphs, and I think you're right. I think if you're really individualizing it a lot, to have a number of short phrases is a great idea, because you click one and you enter right, and you click one and you enter left, or you click one and enters the whole thing, you know. So I think you really can use both. But I understand using them as a menu to pick and choose the items that you want in your note is one of the reasons I made it like this. But I do think you could get some benefit from not just a default long paragraph, but maybe a couple shorter paragraphs too.
Okay. And then my next question was, when you enter your X-ray report, do you put that under the assessment tab under, like, where you've ordered the X-ray report at the top?
I don't. Let's say I have a post-op patient and I took X-rays of the left foot. So I have my diagnosis of encounter for specified surgical aftercare for my post-op, and I have ordered the X-ray of my left foot. 2 views. So some people, I think, can put their X-ray report in here, in notes, right? So this is my X-ray report. Here are my findings. Here is my assessment. Correct?
Yes.
And then when you do that, what you get is this. Yeah?
Okay.
What you need in your note is all of the information you need, right? I don't like putting my X-ray report there for 2 big reasons. My first big reason is that it timestamps when I did it, and I'll be honest, I may see that patient in the morning and I may not write that X-ray report until much, much later. And I know the note is timestamped behind the scenes, and that's great, but I don't need that sticking out. So I don't like using the notes section of any of them, but there is nothing wrong with doing that. The other thing that I don't like about it is important for our X-ray reports to have the side, the views, why you're taking the X-ray, the findings, and your impression. And there is not a good way using the note section to separate those sections. Again, you can put them in one run-on sentence paragraph as long as it's in your note. You figure it out, lawyers, if you don't like it. But I want to be able to read my X-ray report later, and I really want the auditors to be able to read it and say, look at these sections. He has answered all these questions. I'm sure this X-ray report passes muster. I want to make it as easy as them for possible. So I do not put my X-ray report there. I put my X-ray report in procedures. I have also, in this template for my post-op X-ray with 2 views, I have started my X-ray report by entering left foot into the laterality. I can go right back into that X-ray report box, and it takes me right to the X-ray report. That is this X-ray report right here, where it has the laterality, and then you'll enter the views, DP, comma, lateral, and you need to enter your indications. Let's say it's that, and then you need to put your findings, right? And then you need your assessment. And then what you get in your progress note is something that looks like this. Here's my X-ray report. Here are all those topics, Mr. Auditor, that you're going to look for to make sure that I put in there right. And I like the way that looks. I like the way it reads. I prefer it that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. I do, when Corey had asked me that question about quick phrases, it got me thinking about all the ways you can enter text into ECW and save yourself some time. So I thought I would show all the ones I can think of now, and if there are more that I'm missing, let me know. But the first one was what we recently talked about, and we can show that here in our X-ray exam, where we have views, and if we go into the notes for the views, we have a list of all our options, and somebody has added AP, medial oblique, and lateral AP, lateral oblique, and lateral for their ankle X-rays, which is great. You know what? I think we should have one that says DP, lateral, and medial oblique. Because that's something we take all the time. Here's another one I take all the time. GP and lateral. Right? How common is that? I don't need to do that anymore. And I can put that, I can just click it once. So these, I guess here they're called options. Other places I think they're called other things. But anyway, this is a way to get text in by typing a little or clicking a little and getting a lot. And I think that's great. I do use some of those quite frequently. Another place that I'm using being able to type a little or click a little and get a lot is anywhere that you see this ellipsis button. It is not only in the encounters, and here it's in the treatment section. I think it's in procedures. It's in a ton of places, but it's also in where I receive my documents and I want to add notes to the documents. There's an ellipsis button there, which has a number of things in it. When my best friend I've never met, Shelley Dew, at the central office says, hey, your subjective says left, but everywhere else in the note says right, I can use my quick note that says, yes, thank you so much, I've corrected it, and send it back to her. So this ellipsis way of entering text I use many times every day. So if we look at in here, this is for the notes or the clinical notes, and I believe both these ellipses go to the same place. What we see is all of this information on the left, and then this big blank white spot in the right. So if we click this one that says star Achilles tendon, to be honest, I don't know what it is. It is a blurb about, hey, I took an exam and I discussed the patient with the findings, and I said that they're going to repair this Achilles tendon rupture. So this is an Achilles tendon rupture note, and they talk about the procedure and all of that stuff. So let's change that to Achilles tendon rupture repair, because I had no idea what it was until I clicked into it. And naming your things something you can remember is really helpful later. So there are things all about this. What else is nice is if you keep going, there are blurbs for just tons and tons of braces and devices and gosh, all sorts of things, of which I probably use 7, and you may only use 7, but they may be the different 7. So having these types of things in for you is the way that April Cook and the members of the EHR committee have tried to give you help on your documentation for certain things. For example, I don't remember what my typical ankle brace is, but let's say it is L1960. Here is all the information. Oops, that's the tendon rupture stuff. But here is all the stuff for the ankle brace. And then you click on it and it goes down into the bottom. Let's cancel that and do it one more time so I don't have too much text there. That makes it confusing. Here's my Achilles tendon rupture repair. I click it. Everything that ends up in the bottom is going to end up in these clinical notes section of your treatment. So if we go back, we see that we have this treatment encounter for the aftercare, which doesn't make any sense, but here's that clinical note, the comprehensive physical examination for their Achilles tendon rupture. Obviously, before you enter it, you correct the asterisks with the correct side. But there are a ton of these types of ways to enter text using this ellipsis, lots and lots of places all over ECW. So that is a great way to click once and enter a ton of text, customizing it, for the particular pathology side or however that particular AFO is needed, or whatever device or procedure it is. We've talked on many videos on templates and how templates are a great way to enter text, because by having a template set up, maybe you have all sorts of text already written For example, when I meet a patient and I'm going to start canthrone treatment, which is my common treatment for verruca, I have this blurb in my discussion already where I talk about, hey, we talked about these treatment options and we decided to do this. So using templates is a great way to get a bunch of text into your note. Another way is order sets. Order sets are another way to get a whole lot of text into your notes with relative ease. For example, here is my order set for plantar fasciitis. And I will see if I can do this. Yes. So here's my an order set for plantar fasciitis, and I have this text note at the bottom where I'm going to give an injection. So I might have talked to the patients and say, listen, we're going to get an injection, and that's great. And I would click my injection and the medicine, and then this text, and I would order all of this and be done. I guess when it's done. Yep. And then all of my text and information has gone into the note. So we have the order sets as a quick way to enter a lot of text into your document. I have one more way, and I'll be honest with you, I learned this today because when I was asked about the quick phrases, I did some searching to see if there was something called quick phrases in ECW that I didn't know about. But there isn't. I remember on our training, we talked about macros, and I don't use them. I use something else for macros, but macros are built into ECW. If you go to your menu, I forget where it is now because I bookmarked it, but if you go to menus, configure macros, EMR, miscellaneous configuration options, configure macros. If you go to the section here, you'll see I have none macros, but let's say I wanted to add one, and this macro is going to be my partial nail avulsion, and I'm going to call it my PNA, and I'm going to say the offending nail border was blah, 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 and I'm going to hit OK. And then the way this works is that shortcut, PNA. We got to remember that for like 18 seconds while I get back to the note here. And you can use it in your progress note, wherever there you add text. And the way you do that is, sorry, I don't like index there. The way you do that is you type PNA, control, space. And you will turn PNA into a whole bunch of text. You could make that, I don't know, several paragraphs or whatever. So macros are the last way I know of right now to enter a little text and get a lot, or click a little and get a lot in ECW. If there are not any other questions, I will thank you all for coming and leave you to the rest of your night.